It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Monday, December 29th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another week together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube. Do not follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have Provi in the media, the Sunday Message Word Study, and of course commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing? It's a wonderful and awesome Monday. Once again, we're in the last week of 2025. Hope all of us can wrap up this year really well. Don't forget, we have Q&A Thursday. Well, we didn't do it last week because Thursday is New Year's Day, so I don't think we're going to have Q&A Thursday this week either. But if you do have any questions, I will answer them in the segments, like in this first segment, in any of the other podcasts too. Yes, I actually did want to do a video podcast. Like I want to start doing some more video podcasts because I think I don't know, it just brings a completely different element to it. But I do think I would have to change up some of the format too if it became more if it became more of like a podcast where I'm talking and I'm basically, on video. I think would have to do it a little bit differently. Like the whole format would have to change too. But that is something I am thinking about as the year is ending, and hopefully it'll be something new too. If you haven't yet, for the video that you're listening to right now, please leave a like and comment to build our community. I'm just super happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message title, what an interest. I don't think I've ever heard this title before. Live for one another. Live for one another. Like, that's pretty powerful, right? And just even for that, it's a very hopeful message, and it's something, let's just listen to the title. You're like, wow, what an inspiring message. So we will get into that in the second segment. But before that, let's get into segment number one. How was your holidays, guys? How was your holidays? What'd you guys do? Hope you guys had spent good time at church, that our focus was in the right place. Also, I'm sure a lot of you went to go see family. I had a big family dinner on Thursday night, and extended family came too, like from other side of the family that I don't know that well. Like I know my side of the family, and the side of the family I'm closest to is my mom's side. And it's because in the entire, like my mom and all her brothers and her mom, all moved to Canada at the same time, right? So that's why all my cousins and stuff, we all speak English. We're all second gen, meaning second generation Koreans. We're basically the first generation born in Canada. All of our parents were born in Korea, right? So we are like second gen Koreans, okay? My father's side, I don't know very well. I really don't. Like when I told you that my dad's eldest brother passed away 2 weeks ago, even for me, it wasn't something I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? It was nothing like that because I'm not close at all. I'm just not. So because I'm not close to my dad's or just my dad's side of the family, it's just really interesting because all my cousins and my uncles and my aunts, whatever it is, I don't know them very well. And it's kind of like they are strangers. They really, really are strangers that I don't know well at all. Even when I was in Korea, I met them once with my parents, and that's it. When I was living there for a year and a half. So if you just look at it from that perspective, I'm like, oh, it's very, very different. But that's my, that's kind of my family is all on my mom's side. And here's something that's funny. I keep telling everyone is like, my family, for some reason, on my mom's side, the one I'm closest to, we have some issues, right? Like, my eldest, the eldest uncle, my mom's second eldest, right? So my mom's oldest brother, our big uncle, we call it Kunappa in Korean, and he's got a son and a daughter. And interesting, like they're both over 50, both are unmarried, both have no kids. So that's the first family, right? That's, it's more traditionally like our Korean families. That's the first family. Second family is my family. Me and my brother, we're both going to be hitting 50 within the next 2 to 3 years. Both of us unmarried, no children. So that's pretty crazy, right? So already the two eldest families, no one's married and no one has kids. And then you go to the next cousins, right? So the next cousin is the next oldest. He is living in Vancouver too. No, not married, no kids. Okay, so there's already the five eldest cousins don't have it. Okay, and then we have someone got married. One is married, and then you have twins. And one of the twins, both twins are married, and one of the twins is married but not doesn't want to have children, and the other twin has two kids, and then yeah. So there's like the next generation. They're all from the younger generation, and I think it is one, two, three, four. The four, like the top five are not married, like top five eldest, and the bottom four are all married, and three of them have kids. So we have 2, 4, 5. We have five of these like little nephews and one niece, right? So it's pretty crazy, and you know, I use like for my parents too, and my uncle. My uncle's like 86, I think, and then then my mom. Oh no, my uncle's like 85 and my mom is like 74. And no, is that right? No, my uncle's 80, 81, and then my mom is 74, right? And the reason why there's a gap in between is because my mom was telling me there were some, what do you call them? Stillbirths. There were one or two stillborn before her, which is quite interesting. But what makes it even more interesting is even for me, in my family, it's me and my brother, right? After my brother, there were two babies that didn't make it, and then I came. You know what I mean? Was it? No. One before and one after? No, that doesn't make any sense because me and my brother we're only a year apart, which probably means it was before my brother. So there's two before my brother that didn't make it, and then my brother, and then me. Yeah, so that's it's quite sad to think about. Like, man, we could have had 4 kids in this family, which would have been wild, and I would have loved it. If I had 2 more siblings, like one would be what? One would be hopefully there would be like a sister up there too. But it's kind of like, man, God, I wish it was kind of that that the 2 still survived. However, the one thing that I am thankful for is who knows? Because if the first 2 didn't, if they weren't stillbirths, then my parents might have, decided to stop and like no longer have any more babies, which means I wouldn't have come around, kind of thing, right? So even when I think of this, I'm just like, yeah, it's so interesting to look at the full situation of what's happening in your life and just looking at, wow, it could have been like this, but it makes me even more thankful to God and makes me more grateful that these things are actually happening and such too. So, yeah, and for me, is I'm like I said, I had the big Christmas dinner, and then after, and now it's officially my first week in Vancouver from today. Today is actually because I arrived at like 4 p.m. on Monday last week. So when it hits 4 p.m. today. On this Monday, I'm going to be exactly 1 week in Vancouver, which is, it's interesting. I'm finally home, and I know that it's always nice to be with my family. Oh, and especially with my mom too. My mom is awesome, and my mom is like, she said to me the other day, I'm not, when I say mama's boy, I'm not really a mama's boy, like, the one where you always listen and you'll only do what your mom, like, not that type of one. Because I know in Korea, when they say mama's boy, it's completely different. It means that you will like listen to your mom over your wife and stuff like that too. And for me, if I was listening to my mom, I wouldn't be in Providence. If I was listening to my mom, I wouldn't be traveling so much. Do you know what I mean? So I'm a mama's boy, meaning I'm close to my mom. That's what I mean. So I'm really, really close to my mom. My mom's like, hey. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, do you do skincare? And I was like, Yeah, of course I do skincare. And she's like, do you want to go with me? I'm like, sure. So she's like, yeah, once a year I'll go and get a nice cleanup on my face, this, and this. I was like, sure, I'll go. Right. So me and my mom are going to go to the facial spa in January, beginning of January. So I'm actually quite excited about this. I am. I'm very, very excited about this. So yeah, it's like, and before, like, I'm someone who actually does that type of stuff. And guys, it's not because I'm some diva or something like that. It's mainly because I'm on YouTube. My face is on like YouTube. It's on the screen all the time. And because of that, I really, I got to take care of it or else, I don't want to look terrible and my face is going to be on the internet forever and ever and ever, right? Like it'll never come down. Right. So that is something I found to be quite funny that my mom asked me that question. But it's kind of like, I was like, of course. Why wouldn't I want to go to that type of thing? Yeah. So, it's, I know that I'm not going to be here for a very long time in Vancouver, because I do know that the semester is going to be starting within the next 3 weeks. Right, and because it's like from what I know, most of the semester starting on the end of January, somewhere around the 20th, right? Which is kind of cool. Well, not cool, but that's my mom's birthday too. Either way, right? So there's I don't know. It gives me like a couple weeks, right? Well, it's already the end of the year this year, so 20 days. Yeah, over a little bit over 3 weeks. But I do think I'm probably going to be ending. I'm going to end up going there a little bit early to prepare and stuff like that also. Hey guys, what do you guys think about the video post I did last week for New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve, and Christmas Day? Like, I have a park right by my house, and it's famous for having all these Christmas lights up every single year, and the Christmas lights are up all the way until January also. So I do. One thing I do want to do is I do want to like wherever I go. I do want to set up. What do you call it? I do want to set up like a video recording podcast booth kind of thing where me and someone else, we could just sit there, shoot the breeze. We can have a podcast, talk about the message and all these other different like that. I want to do that. I want to have something where I have the equipment where wherever I go, I can set up and I can start doing these like video podcasts and stuff too. So, like, I like it. I really do like it. And I understand that there is a big difference between like listening only like a radio show and also seeing it. But of course, we want to do both because I know not everyone can watch. So we want to make it so that the video and voice quality is good enough that it'll be either a podcast audio only or people can watch the video too. I think both of them are fine also, right? But I hope you guys enjoyed it last week. Right? It's nice to have that little bit of a change. And because it's the holidays, I know everyone is super busy. For me, it's super busy. I'm starting to get more lectures, like starting to do more lecturing now that the holidays are over. Well, we got New Year's coming soon, but I am lecturing those newcomers that are in Korea and the Asian countries. Of course, the time is a little bit different, but I'm getting back into it because I'm a little bit bored. Like I want to be busy. Yeah, I'm a little bit bored at home, so I think I'm just going to lecture as much as I can. I think I'm like that's something I really, really want to do. So, oh yeah, by the way, the craziest part is like I arrived on Monday and Christmas was on Thursday, and my jet lag hit on Christmas Day. Like I was doing fine the other days, but Christmas Day I was late to service by like almost 30 minutes because the service is at 10 a.m. Right? I woke up at 9:27 and it takes 25 minutes to drive to church. So think about that, guys. I got there probably within an hour, which means I showered, got ready, got everything done, and arrived there by like 10:25 around there. So it was quite interesting. Like I was like, oh my goodness, like of all days for me to have jet lag to hit, it was Christmas Day. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, you even get to the point you're like, oh my gosh, I woke up so late. What should I do type of thing, right? And in the end, I was just like, well, uh, I should just, I was like, maybe I should just stay home. Like you ever get that where you just feel yourself like, maybe I should just stay home instead, kind of thing. I actually thought that to myself, and yeah. Of course, I didn't follow through with that. I was just like, yeah, okay. These types of things are going to happen. Don't fix a wrong with another wrong. You just gotta, suck it up and go to church, even though you're kind of late. And yeah, I was late, and that's what actually happened. So it was kind of, yeah, it was kind of like that, and I felt really bad. And I even became more late because there was some stranger, like not stranger, but you know how it's Christmas Day, and the church in Vancouver is an actual church building with a church sign in the middle of a neighborhood. So people in the neighborhood do want to come and join church, right? And there was just someone right there at the front, like going, "Hey, am I allowed to go to church?" And I can't say to them, "You can't go to church," kind of thing, right? But it was really interesting, like trying to figure out like what should I say to this person. But the person eventually just left. But they live in the area, so I'm hoping that eventually it's going to get to that where we're going to be a community church. Eventually it'll get to that point. It will. We're going to be a community church, and we're going to, like people from off the street are just going to come. They are. Like that's just how it's going to be. We're going to have a bunch of different people in the church just coming to visit. We're not going to be able to be as we're just not going to be able to be as exclusive as we think we can. Do you know what I mean? We just can't. And that is something where I was like, yeah, this is something that's really, really true, right? And it's something that I do think, like, yeah, I think it's something that we're going to have to open our hearts to and understand at a much different and much we're going to have to understand, we're going to have to open it up eventually, right? In Christianity, the early Christian church, because of the persecution and everything else, kind of like with the situation we're going through right now, because of that, what's going to happen is, yeah, like they had to be exclusive. Like they had to be hidden. They couldn't be out in the open. Like there were all these different types of things that were happening, right? And that's something you just can't help, right? You just can't. That's just the way it is. And it's something I do think that that we're going to have to realize also, like for ourselves, is hey, eventually we're going to have to get ourselves so ready to the point where anyone can come to service. And for us, it's kind of like, whoa, that's going to be a pretty that's not an easy thing. That's gonna be a pretty difficult time, don't you guys think? It will be. It will be very, very difficult, but it is something that we do have to think about. It's something that we have to kind of open our eyes to also, that eventually we will be public. Maybe not right now, maybe not right away, but eventually we are going to. And that's why, I think one of the hardest parts for small churches is small churches just don't have enough manpower, that they won't be able to have like newcomer services and stuff like that too. But I do think it's something that we're going to have to deal with in the future, where many people will just come to church because a church is a church for the community, right? I really do. I think that's just something we're going to have to prepare for. Some other cool news is I taught time times and half times again, and very, very excited about it. And it's kind of funny because I told you guys last week that when I teach it, I cut into 3 parts, right? So because I cut into 3 parts, what do? I need to I have a I segment them. Like the first one, I stop at 1948, and then I show them 1978, 2023, and then that's kind of the cliffhanger for the next one. But they're already going to be wowed, like, oh my goodness, because of 1948, which is incredibly amazing, right? And then the next one, I show them 1978 to 2023, right? But it's mainly going to be about, actually, the funny part is I don't remember like where the cutoff point of time times half times 2 was. I just don't know where the cutoff point was. I was like, how far did I teach in this lesson? And then I had to go back to the videos I made in the past. So even on Patreon, if you go into if you search in the library for TTHT, which is time times half a times, TTHT, you're going to see TTHT 1, 2, and 3. So I had to re-listen to number 2. It was so odd too. I'm sitting in a cafe watching my own lecture. And, like people behind me can see me looking at myself kind of thing, right? So, I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, these people might think I'm like so vain or something like that. So I was like listening to it, I was like, oh, now I remember where I end off and where my next point is going to be. You know what I mean? So it's kind of funny looking back at myself and listening to it and thinking to myself is like, hey, where the heck, it's kind of cool that I have like a library of videos where I can look back upon and say, oh, this is what I thought. Oh, this is how I taught it. And I get to kind of go through my own thinking. And I'm gonna have to say, guys, this sounds really funny. Because I haven't taught in such a long time, I was listening to myself and watching the video. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. I was like, oh, I taught like that. Hey, that's pretty good. That's some good logic, right? So I was just listening to it like, oh, yeah, that's a really good point. And I sat there at some points, I'm thinking to myself like, I was like, oh, wow, I teach it like this. Oh wow, I teach it like this. Like there's some parts in there that I was so I was kind of shocked at myself like, "Oh, I teach it like that. Oh, that's the point I use." Yeah, so I don't know. For me, it's interesting because I am stuck in a place right now where I'm starting to do it again, and I haven't brought myself to that point where I fully I don't grasp it like I did in the past. Like in the past, I'll watch these videos and basically I'm just spitting out Bible verses like boom, 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 boom. Right now, I know like the core center verses, but it's the other verses that I'm like, oh, what's that verse? What that verse? And then I have to go onto the internet and I have to what do you call it? I have to find uh I have to like look at a keyword and search it. It's like, oh, that's the like I know what the verse says, but I forgot where it is. So I have all these little brain farts here and there, and it makes me kind of want to challenge myself all the more. But I did teach time, times, and half a times part 2. And this is about showing where Sunseem realizes about his mission, right? And it's pretty incredible when you think about it this way. But he realizes his mission, like think about it, guys. He realizes his mission is in the Bible. Tell me that's crazy. When you think about that concept, it's like because I'm teaching it again, I get nervous. I'm like, oh, can I say this? Oh, this is like, isn't this almost giving you? Oh, like I have that like that a little bit of fear in my heart because I don't have as full of a command as I did in the past about these lectures. So I'm going over them, listening to my older lectures, understanding where it is, and then, like I said, this third one I'm going to teach 10 times, half times 3. The hard part about this one is about explaining 2023. All of the stuff we've explained before. We've explained all that stuff before. We just haven't explained 2023. And it's something where I do have to keep going over the messages, keep going over how to teach it. What do I say about 2023? Like Sunseem talks about the big tribulation comes. So it's a time of judgment. So for me I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. How would I look at that? And one of the ways that I was thinking about it is, whenever God judges, right? Whenever God judges, God is always judging at the end, right? So that's why there's a huge judgment when Jesus comes, because it's the end of the Old Testament. There's a huge judgment at the end of the when the Lord's second coming comes, because that's the end of the New Testament, right? So the accumulation of all sin and such will be taken care of when the Lord comes, right? Now, if you look at it in a miniaturized scale, you are still going to have judgment too, like when stages are done, right? So it's interesting because you'll see that 2023 is the end of a stage. It's supposed to be like kind of his mission time, the end of a mission. And that's where you kind of get to see, because it's ending at that point, we have to realize that ending means we're going to have that it's going to be a time of judgment. a point of judgment that God is going to do, a time of cleaning up. And that's why we're seeing all these things happening right now, from Israel, Palestine, from Ukraine, Russia, all the division inside countries, and countries being judged sector by sector. Some things are being blessed, like American economy is going back up to where it's supposed to be, and some parts are being judged, the politics and this and that, like a bunch of things that we're looking like, oh, so this is we're kind of at an end point. So I was like, oh, so for sure that is an end point. And since that mission has reached the fullness of 2023, there is going to be a time of cleanup, right? And that is something that we should be thinking about, and it's something that we should really understand well. Because if we don't, then we're gonna always be stuck on like, why is this happening? And I think that's not a good place to be in. To think thinking like, why is this happening? I don't understand. Why does this happen? Why does that happen? I think that's not a good place for us to be when it comes to us understanding God's history. Right? So I was thinking about that, and yeah, I did get a couple of thoughts here and there, but of course I do want to think about it a lot more and read into the word that we've been given over the past year also, and try to figure out 2023 much better too. Right? So yeah, it's slowly getting back on track to where I should be. Right? And hopefully I will be able to get myself back into a position where I can do, things better again. Like I really want to be locked in and ready to teach every single lesson when I get back to when I get back to, well, not back, when I start to evangelize over there in the different countries and different cities and stuff too, because, it's a very, very important time, very, very important point. And I hope that's something that we can really, that I can get myself back to, so I can do things properly. Like I want to do it properly. I don't want to do things in, in just a mishmash, wishy-washy way. Right? So, yeah, guys, it's the last Monday of 2025. It's going to be by Thursday. It's going to be January 1st, 2026. From what I know, it's supposed to be the 40th anniversary of America, the World Cup celebration, 250 years of America's existence, which is huge for America. So I hope that I have this one thought, and I think it's something that we can. You guys can tell me what you guys think too. I do think when it comes to the Western nations, like when you look at all the English-speaking nations, there is a center, and I think the center is America, like both physically and spiritually. Right? At one point, something even said that America was the Rome of the world. The modern day Rome. I've heard him change it to China. Too, but America had this big place. It's like one of the pillars, and I think that, of course, Korea is going to be the big pillar, and then you have Japan and Taiwan, which are like the big three. And something always says there's a big three everywhere, right? Like the two olive trees. You'll have like Jesus and then Peter and Paul, or you have Jesus with John the Baptist and Paul. Like that was originally what it's, or John the Baptist and Peter or something along that line, right? But you're always going to have a three, one with two witnesses, right? And in the same way too, like every country or in a miniaturized way, you're going to have the big three everywhere, right? So even for me, it's like, well, there's Korea, Taiwan, Japan, right? And that's for basically almost like the entire world. But then if you kind of miniaturize it, I'm like, okay, so then what about the Western world? And I honestly don't know who the other two are. I think definitely it's going to be America and two other countries. I just don't know. I just don't know which one the other two are. But it could be maybe Australia. It could be Canada. It could be a country, maybe Germany in EU. Like I don't know where they are, because it's still kind of at that baby stage. Right? We're still in the beginning stages, so it's hard to see which one's going to emerge. Like America's emerged to a certain point because they're the largest Western country with like 500, which is still quite small. But yet, it's like, okay, even if that's the case, I wonder what like which other two countries are going to emerge from it. Like I could possibly see, like in my mind, just my mind, I'd be like maybe Australia would be one of them, and the other one might be a country in Europe. Like that's what my thoughts are. Like as the big three in the Western countries. And then if you have the smaller Asian countries, you definitely have Malaysia. That's kind of like, they're like the main one over there, right? They have like 750 people. And Malaysia would be one, and maybe connected with maybe Singapore, and like what would be another one of those Asian countries? Maybe Vietnam, or maybe those would be the big three there, or the Philippines. I'm not sure, right? But I think definitely Malaysia is when it comes to the miniaturized version of the big three in those Asian countries, it's going to be Malaysia and two others. And then in the Western countries, it's definitely America and two others. And when we look at like the world, is definitely the big three is Japan, Taiwan, and Korea. And then, even if you look at, like, if you miniaturize it to the Chinese ministry, like Chinese would be Taiwan. And then, hopefully China would be part of it. And maybe either Singapore or Malaysia when it comes to that, because that would be another big three right there. But remember, we're talking in like smaller miniaturized like sectors, right? Like different categories. But definitely we know what the big three is in the world. And we know that there's a main one there's America, and then there's Malaysia. And those are the other two that are the big ones. We just don't know anything after that, right? We just don't know. And that's going to be something where I think in the future, it's going to emerge. We just don't know when, but it's going to emerge. And it's something that I've been thinking about, because as we talked about that a while back, and we're like, wow, I wonder what countries those are going to be. But we'll see. They will eventually emerge as these different areas in the world develop, as the Western world develops. We're going to see who the big three are. We will. It's just going to come out. It's going to naturally come out like that. So it'd be interesting to see how that comes out too. Either way. So yeah, lots of things to think about. A lot of things that, we're going to end the year well, guys. I hope that you guys can wrap up everything well for 2025. Clean up everything as much as you can so that we can move into the new year really well too. Okay, so there's, guys, that's the end of the first segment. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions or anything else, please let me know. And before we get into segment number 2, let's move into the first music break of the day.
First time in forever, I never lose this feeling again, never ever. I won't throw away the passion in my heart, and I'll find the love that I had at the start. It's 1978, this feeling is so great. The word you preach amazes me, but why do I feel this fate? It's 1978. This feeling is so great. The word you preach amazes me, but why do I feel this fate? This feeling will never get old, like the first time we've been together. As long as you don't lose this love, that love will last forever. And as much as I know you're the best thing in my life, I will always tell you that I love you every time. It's 1978. This feeling is so great. The word you preach amazes me, but why do I feel this fate? It's 1978. This feeling is so great. The word you preach amazes me, but why do I feel this fate? People believe in their fantasies, but not God, and that's the problem. That's why they say that it's too hard. No matter how blazing your love may be, our meetings and conversations are the same, you see. You can't let this love go to waste, doing the same things day to day. We're at the same place. Let's speak with hope about new things and the things you have done. I want to get closer to you, I want to give you my love. If you do not enjoy this love, it will disappear. When your thoughts are hard changes, he will take away your blessing. Gotta find your form, find your mission, and just find your blessings. Let's just get back to the old days and find out the temptations. I wanna get to know you, I want to show you that I can give you the word in many places, many spaces. I have seen a lot of people come and go. You're gonna make it, do your absolute best to reach the final destination. Yeah, it's 1978. This feeling is so great. The word you preach amazes me. Why do I feel this way? Ooh, it's 1978. This feeling is so great. The word you preach amazes me. Why do I feel this way? Oh, can I get to know you? I just wanna know you. Can I get to know you? I just wanna know you. Can I get to know you? I just wanna know you. Can I get to know you? I just wanna know you.
All right, so let's get into today's Sunday message word study. And yes, it is the last Sunday of 2025, and Sunsteam ended off on a banger, live for one another, and it comes from the famous verse with the two golden commandments of love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the second is love your neighbor as yourself. Okay, so it is the last Sunday message of the year, which is pretty incredible. And it's a time we need to give thanksgiving and glory to the Holy Trinity, who have been with us and protected us, guided us for this entire year, and and has forgiven us, right? And has done so much more than we even deserve. But because of their love, we're still here in this history, despite of all the good, the ups and downs that we've been through. But I think we have nothing more than just being thankful and grateful for all the things He's done for us too. Right? So it is the message, live for one another. Very interesting message, because it's the direction of the message is far different than what you would expect. Like when you look at a title, you think like, oh, be with each other, hang out with each other, or, it's like one of those different types of messages. But it's so interesting because now it's like, no, let me teach you what this is really about. Live for one another. It's like becoming one, uniting, and what's the secret behind it, right? And as like when you look at the intro, it's like people fail to become one. People fail to become harmonious and united because they don't know the principle of becoming one, right? And once you know the principle, then you're able to become one with everyone, okay? So what does it start off with? It talks about work, right? Doing something. And, it's kind of very, very general of you're not going to see any results until you do something about it, right? And then it goes into spiritual inspiration is like work. At first, spiritual inspiration comes only as a feeling. Only if you act on that inspiration will the results show as much as you've taken action. If you don't act, spiritual inspiration will only brush by and vanish. Right? So it's interesting. It starts off with the spiritual, right? The spiritual, which is work. And then you need to take action on that inspiration. Okay? So if you do receive spiritual inspiration, then you got to do the work that that is required that comes together with that spiritual inspiration. Okay? And it's like, okay, that makes sense, right? We've heard this before. It's the spiritual and the physical. They got to come together. Okay? And then it gets into this great analogy about a fishing net. So a fishing net is like, you have like, these, they take these threads, and when you make the net, you have the horizontal and the vertical, right? And it's like, if you only have the horizontal, it doesn't matter how many times you sweep the sea, you'll never catch a single fish, right? I'm like, what is this talking about? And it says, the same is true for a person's heart. If your heart is made incorrectly, you gain nothing no matter how much you labor, right? Which means, what are the horizontal and the vertical threads? It's basically the physical and the spiritual, right? So it was kind of like this great buildup is like inspiration and taking action, the spiritual and the physical. Then it talks about catching fish. It's like in the end, it has to do with you need to be both physical and spiritual. You can't just be a physical person. And on the flip side, it's the same thing as you can't just be spiritual either. Only if you take action on things concerning God will both your body and your spirit gain. Okay? So now it goes one step further is, okay, so you're going to get like the spiritual things and the physical things, but if you really want to gain, right, you need to take action on things that's God's will, right? You can't just take action and get inspirations about your own thoughts because then you're going to only gain for yourself. You don't really gain in reality because it's your own thinking. The level of your thoughts are so low compared to what God wants to do. Only if you act with the body will you gain the things of the body. And only when you act on the things of the Spirit, you're going to gain things, the eternal things, right? And then it gets into like the more philosophical things. Like everything is about two worlds, the primary and the counterpart, creation and people, up and down, left and right, north and south, east and west, right? Everything is always existing in two ways, right? What's another one is like inhaling and exhaling. And this is what life is like. Life, you're going to go through ups and downs. There's rises and falls, right? There's going to be smooth terrain and then there's going to be rough terrain. There's ups and, you're going up a hill and down a hill, right? And what, even gravity, whatever goes up must come down. Only, and this is the thing that we have to understand. This is what life is like. And life also has the counterparts of condition and reward. Right? The primary is the condition and the counterpart is the reward. If you set the primary of the condition, then the reward is going to come. Whether it's good or evil, all these things, everything in this world, all life has these the principle of two worlds, right? And if you look at yourself, we have the body and the spirit, right? Everything is always existing in duality. So here's where it gets interesting, right? It says, when these two things collide, so when you don't have these duality, these two things that are opposites, when they collide with one another, what happens? The outcome of that collision depends on the conditions under which they collide. Okay? So what does it mean? It means about combining. How do they combine makes the difference of what's the result of it. Right? Like best example was white and black. You mix those two colors together, you get a gray. A new color is born, right? If you want a baby, you need sperm and egg, and then a new life is born. But when those two worlds combine, what happens? The most interesting thing is this. The concept he uses is you have two separate things, duality, good and evil, up and down, left and right. There's duality that we're living, ups and downs, whatever it is, right? And it also talks about men and women, God and human beings too. But the interesting thing is it's about when they come together. The interesting thing is it creates a new life, just as white and black create a new color. An egg and sperm will create a brand new life. So it's like when these two worlds combine, a different life is born, right? A different life is actually born. And that's why in the same way too, we have to understand that when it comes to God and human beings, when we collide, when we become one, right? Like if we don't become one with God, we just end as separate beings and we just go our own way. God will end as the eternal God, and humans end just as humans. These finite human beings. However, when we become one with God, there's a new birth that comes forth. Okay, so like what are the things that we're gonna create? Like what are we giving birth to? Well, physically here on this earth, a new history is going to be made. Right, the history of God is being made. So we're not looking at us as individuals, but as a group, as human beings. When we finally become one with God, when we collide, we will create a new life, which is the history of God on the earth. And spiritually, what's going to happen is heaven in the spiritual world is built too. And that's one of the things that we have to recognize. Remember, guys, Sun's even saying that, heaven is constantly being built. It never stops. It's never a finished product. Even God is constantly growing infinitely, right? And this is why that's at the large level, but then you have to also think to yourself about the smaller level. The results always differ according to what you become one with God. Like, what do you become one with God through? If you become one with God and do work, then that work was done spiritually and physically, right? And a new, like, the result is going to be born, a new life. So you're working together with God, and the result of that work will be something spiritual and physical, right? If you become one with God through love, what happens? Well, you have spiritual love is born. And spiritual life is evangelized through that spiritual love, right? Since the life was brought forth through God's Spirit and a human body becoming one, then you're going to see the result is going to be both spiritual and physical, but a new life is going to be born. So it's interesting, right? So think about this, guys. It tells us about evangelism. In evangelism too, if you really want spiritual life to be born, what has to happen first? There must be spiritual love being born first between us and God. And it kind of gives us that understanding of, why aren't people being evangelized? And then the thing that we might have to ask ourselves is, are we creating spiritual love between us and God? Is that actually happening? Because if there isn't spiritual love, then a spiritual life cannot be born, right? Just like when it comes to male and females. We're completely different. We're completely different genders. The way we think, the way we are different. Heart, mind, actions, whatever it is, we're all even our body physically is different. But when we come together, we can create another human being. And then it's like, how are we connecting to God? Well, since human beings were born through God and the Holy Spirit, then we can become one with God and the Holy Spirit. Why? Because spiritual beings exist within us as well. We were created by spiritual beings, and that's why we have a spirit. There's a spiritual being inside of us as well, and that's how we're able to become one with God and the Holy Spirit, right? Now, it says, only if we live spiritually will we become even more united with God. If we live physically, the union will not happen, right? And that's something we have to check with ourselves. That's why we're told to live spiritually in order to become one with God and the Holy Spirit, right? So it's when you think about it, it's these very, very deep points. It's like you need to focus for this type of message, right? You really do. Like even when I'm listening, it's like you have to read it again, and you have to think about it again and again and again. Okay, so let's get to the next point. The next point is interesting. It's like men and women were composed of both the masculine and the feminine, right? 70% men are 70% masculine and 30% feminine, right? Women are the opposite, 70% feminine, 30% masculine. Okay, so then it's like, okay, now, of course, the percentages can change depending on what the person tends to favor more. Like a woman can become more masculine, and a man can become more feminine, right? We've seen that. Okay. Now, how does a man and a woman become one, right? And we're not talking about like physically, like, through intercourse or something like that. This concept of the 70-30 is interesting because it's like, if you want to connect with the opposite sex, you have to connect with that feminine side. That 30% you need to use, right? Because remember, both men and women both have the masculine and the feminine. And the thing that's really interesting is we kind of get to see where all the problems happen in relationships is when a man is looking at the female using the 70% of masculinity, but there's no connection. You're not going to understand. And we kind of see like something like straight up like, hey, this is why divorce happens. This is why separation happens because of these types of things, right? So A man should relate to a woman with his feminine heart, and a woman should do the same with her masculine heart, right? It should never be just, hey, you don't understand me, but then you're not going to use your opposite duality to understand the other person. Because the ultimate thing that's supposed to happen is you being united in heart, right? So for a woman to live being united in heart with a man, since the masculine heart resides in a woman, she'll become even more united with the man if she relates to him through the masculine and not saying, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Right? But it's the same with the guy, right? For the man to become one with the woman, he also has to understand from the feminine side he has in his heart, right? Where even, it's true. Sometimes I just sit there and I cannot understand. Like, what are they talking? Why are you talking? Like, why are you asking that question? It makes absolutely no sense to me. The answer is right there. Why don't you just do the answer and you'll resolve it? And they're like, I don't want the answer. And that's me only trying to deal with it, looking only from the masculine side, right? Relate with the other duality, the 30%. Then you're going to connect, right? And, they're not going to connect if they only try to use their primary duality. So the man only using the primary 70% of masculinity is not going to connect with the woman, right? Now, if you really want two to become one, whether it's a relationship of like lovers or work or anywhere else, what is the number one thing? The number one thing is you have to be able to relate to each other with the counterpart's heart, which means it's about the understanding of the other person. That's the key, right? Because, like as Sunseem said, people will fight, divorce, separate, end up thinking, why did I feel, why am I with this person? Because they fail to understand from the counterpart duality. You must understand the other person. That's why the message is like, don't ever relate to your counterpart according to your own nature, your own instincts or physical nature. You must really realize and act correctly, right? And, and then somebody was like, oh, I'll talk about blood types later. I'm just like, oh, blood types again. Like, it's totally not a Western thing, but it's really interesting though too, right? So then now that we know how a man and a woman relate to each other, a man has a masculine 70 and 30% feminine, the woman has the opposite. But then what about between us and God? Like God and human beings, how do we become one then? Well, we have both the physical character and the spiritual character. And since God is spirit, in order for humans to become one with God, they must relate to God spiritually. If you relate to God physically, you will not connect. This is because you're at a low level, right? And the same is true in the relationship between God and human beings. We become one only if we connect through the same nature. Like that's the thing that we need to do, right? We need to connect with God through the same nature. Water with water, fire with fire, which means we need to connect with God with the spiritual nature, not the physical nature, right? Physical nature is only for the things that we see here on this earth, like on this world. Like there's some things here that God is not. Like, what does God have to do with food, really, right? Like the physical food is a totally physical nature thing. And we have to recognize it at that level, right? And Suzy even brings up work. What about work? Two people who are separate beings, individuals who are working together, they have to work again. They have to work according to their individuality, right? So when two people, they're not going to work on the same thing and do, like, even if you're on the same project, each person has a different thing they need to do. And what happens is when those two things come together that are different, what's going to happen? Then they create something different, or a higher level will come forth because you guys are doing things that the other cannot do, right? A different world, a different result, a different life is created when you have two people that are different, just like a man and a woman. Even though you're relating with the counterpart duality, like the 30% of the feminine or the masculine, you're still 70% of your primary, which means those primary two things that come together create something completely different, right? And I like how God, you kind of I talked about this last week about the roles of men and women, but it's very clear that God has a certain character of the male and the female, right? Feminine is beauty, masculine is strength. Okay? And it's like not only when this is not only when it comes to, giving birth, but also when doing work. The female primary nature and the male primary nature work being completely one as distinct individual beings. Both feminine and masculine qualities are created and a different world is born, right? There is a specific role that is there, and you use your primary qualities to do that role. So what has to happen is the primary being in stuff is going to unite and work with its counterpart, and it brings forth a completely different individuality, one that's not the same as itself. So it's just like, the men are the external, the women are the internal. Feminine is internal, masculine is external. Feminine is beauty, masculine is strength, right? Like one thing that you can't get away from. There's something that no matter how much I see when I was playing volleyball in Korea, you have some really good athletes. They hit it hard, and it's very, very masculine when they play sports. However, after when they cheer, the feminine comes out, or they're putting on makeup, they're doing new hair, like they're getting new haircuts. They're, it's even though they do have that masculine trait, they're still feminine. They're wearing makeup during volleyball kind of thing, which guys would never do. We wouldn't be hiding a pimple, right? Or masking our faces up and stuff, right? God is spirit. God is the primary being. Okay? And, God is the divine. And since God created human beings through his divine nature, then the divine nature exists in us. Isn't that powerful? Because God is divine, that divine nature also exists in us too, right? However, on the flip side, this is even more philosophical. What's very interesting is, since God created human beings, he also possesses a human nature. God possesses a human nature that knows and understands humans, and he can understand and relate to human beings through it. Isn't that incredible? God has a human nature. That's why that's his 30%. That's how he can relate to us. And we have that 30% of divine nature in which we can relate to God, right? And of course, when it comes to uniting with human beings to fulfill God's will, what do we need to do? We relate with our spirituality. So God's 70%, and we relate with our 30% of that divine nature, that spirituality, right? And for us as human beings, we have a physical nature, which is 70%, right? And, God is going to relate to us through our human nature. It's really, really interesting. I find it powerfully interesting, right? And that's when you look at, if you look at how God and man work together, it creates something, a brand new life or a new work. And the greatest example we have is 월명동. Like, that is the example of humans and gods working together and creating a new life, something brand new. And, it says, one of the parts of the message is like, the outcome of what's going to happen, the result is depending on whether the primary is the spirit or the body. Whatever belongs to the spirit, in which the spirit is the primary, is always fulfilled in the spiritual world. And whatever belongs to the body, in which the body is the primary, is fulfilled in the physical world. So that's where you'll be able to see whether it's something, the primary is the physical or spiritual, whether it's something that results on the earth or something that results in heaven. Like, prayer is something that results in heaven. Spiritual things are happening in heaven to our spirits, right? But the things that happen in the physical world are things that are, the primary is the body. It doesn't mean that there's no spiritual nature involved. It's just the 30%. So since the primary is physical, a physical thing is going to come about from it, right? So, we're learning this principle of how to unite. And when it comes to people, it is our hearts, it is our mindset, how we treat each other, right? How? With the counterparts, with understanding through the counterparts that we have inside. Not the primary, but the counterpart. The outcome is determined how much our hearts are united and reach one another. And it's a really powerful thing. And that's why when we're going to look in our lives, we're going to see things being given birth in the physical realm and the spiritual realm, depending on what is the primary nature that is actually doing it, right? So if you think about it, if I become united with another human being and I get married, whatever it is, then we have a literal physical birth of life. If I have that spiritual, divine, spiritual love that's created with God, then we create a spiritual life, right? And all these things are going to happen depending on what is the primary. And that's going to show what type of new life that's actually going to come forth from it, right? So it's really, really something we have to read over again and again. It's a very philosophical and powerful, it's very conceptual, but we can see the result of it. Like, oh, I can see that. Oh, this happened here and this happened there. Right? And the greatest example we have to look at is actually Wonrendong, right? And, if we want to create something that's not divine, more human, then a human unites with a human, and then we create something human, right? That's the same as like the color black uniting with black, it creates black, right? Even if black is connected, is also matched with another dark color, it's just still in the dark spectrum. Right? It's still going to be dark, but it's only when it's mixed with white does a completely different color emerge, right? And that's why when it comes to God, who is the absolute deity, right? And we become one with God, then a completely different artwork will come forth, like Wonmyeongdong as the best example. That is the great example that we have, right? So all of us, each of us, as a bride of this history, we live being united with God, the Holy Spirit, the Holy Son, and Jesus. And what's going to happen is different forms are created depending on the primary, whether it's in the spiritual or the physical. And we're all going to carry out evangelism in different ways. And we're all going to make various different things as well at that point, right? So yeah, lots of things to look at from the Sunday message. And the live for one another is completely different than what most people are thinking about. What does it mean to live for one another? It almost sounds like live for one another is like that inspirational, motivational message to help each other and do this and that, but it's more about becoming one. Okay? So there it is, guys. That is the Sunday Message Word Study. Hope it's something you guys really enjoyed and gained a lot from. If you have any questions or anything else, please let me know. And yeah, if you have, I would love to hear from you guys too. Which means all we have left is Provi in the media, but let's get into the last music break of the day.
Glamour, blitz, and romance. This world's got you entranced, so you fall into love. Tripping, bruising, hurting. There's nothing that's quite worth it, so you call for help again.
Okay, so let's get into today's Provi in the media. And of course, it is the holiday times, even in Korea. And I do believe that probably most of the journalists are on vacation too. And there's actually not really much going on. There's no trials or anything. There is more family time, people gathering together and such. So there isn't any new articles or anything else that has come out when it comes to Providence or any matters of Providence too. So it is something where we can kind of take a break only from listening to these different like types of articles. And one thing that's kind of cool is they do have articles from Providence members that are just popping up, which is great. It shows that, we have these keyboard commandos, these keyboard warriors that are going out and putting out the good parts of Providence too, so that people can see that also. But I just find it very, very interesting that, this is not interesting, I mean, something that we can spend this time where, Satan is loading up to come and attack us once again. And we also have to load up in prayers so that when the time comes, we'll have a mountain of conditions set to go against whatever Satan is trying to put against this history too. Okay? So there it is, guys. That is the end of today's Monday podcast. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you have any questions or anything else, please let me know. Put in the comments below, or you can DM me directly. All right, everyone, enjoy, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, I'm on the Morning Star Drive, I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, I'm on the Morning Star Drive,